What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing good today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite Bible stories today, David and Goliath. Some of you probably have your packets, so there's a lot of good stuff in there. But before we jump into the story, we are going to sing a few songs. So I thought since we'll be talking about the battle with the Philistines, we'll do the Lord's army today. So here we go. If you're sitting down right now, go ahead and stand up, and we'll get going with the song. I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir. I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army, yes sir! Alright, we're going to do that again. This time we're going to do it cowboy style, okay? So, you ready? Here we go. I'm in the Lord's army, yee-haw! I'm in the Lord's army, yee-haw! I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yee-haw! I'm in the Lord's army. Yee-haw! I'm in the Lord's army. Yee-haw! I may never march in the infantry, ride in the cavalry, shoot the artillery. I may never fly o'er the enemy, but I'm in the Lord's army. Yee-haw! All right, let's do Our God is So Big. Our God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing my God cannot do. The mountains are His, the rivers are His, the stars are His handiwork too. My God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing my God cannot do. Alright, before we get to the video, if you look in your packet, you should see this orange sheet here. There are 2 songs on here, so we're going to do these real quick, and then we'll jump into the video. We'll start by doing this one here. You should see it just says David at the top. It's to the tune of Bingo. So if you just want to follow along, we'll sing this song. All right, here we go. There was a king who liked to sing, and David was his name. Oh, D-A-V-I-D, 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 and David was his name. Oh, he faced a giant with a sling, and David was his name. Oh, D-A-V-I-D, 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 and David was his name. Oh. All right, turn it to the other side. We'll do David Sings to God. This is to the tune of The Farmer in the Dell. So here we go. David sings to God, David sings to God, when he's glad or when he's sad. David sings to God, David sings to God, David sings to God, God's power and might at day or night. David sings to God, we can sing to God, we can sing to God, when we're glad or when we're sad. We can sing to God, we can sing to God, we can sing to God, our thanks and love to Him above. We can sing to God. All right. Roll the video.
Stones, slings, and giant things. Israel's first king was named Saul. King Saul did not obey God, so God said to Samuel the prophet, "Find a man named Jesse. One of his sons will be the new king." Samuel found Jesse in Bethlehem. He looked at 7 of Jesse's sons. They looked handsome and strong. "Not them," God said. "I don't care about looks. I care about what's in a person's heart." Jesse sent for his youngest son, David, who is tending sheep in the fields. Samuel saw him, and God said, "He is the one." So David was anointed the new king. Sometime later, Israel fought the Philistines. A giant Philistine soldier called Goliath challenged the Israelites to send a champion to fight him. But the Israelites were all too afraid. David brought food to his brothers in the army. He heard Goliath's challenge and was not afraid. "How dare he defy God's army?" asked David. "I will fight him." Surprised, King Saul offered David his armor. "No," said David. "God help me kill wild beasts. He will help me against Goliath too." David took 5 stones and a sling. "Am I a dog?" Goliath roared. "You send this stick of a boy to fight me." "You have a spear," said David, "but I have the help of Israel's God." David put a stone into the sling and threw it. It struck Goliath's forehead and knocked him down. The Israelites defeated the Philistines. With God's help, David was a hero.
All right. So, as Daniel said, this is one of his favorite Bible stories, right? One of mine too. I don't know. I want to hear what makes it your favorite, Daniel.
I think it was because I was small for a really long time.
You were.
I was very small.
Some out there may not know this, but Daniel was actually about the size of, well, I don't know. He didn't get to this size until, what, about a year ago?
It feels like it for sure. It wasn't until after basketball that I got my height.
Right,
so
yeah,
it didn't
of course.
do me any good. But I think it's just because I was short for a long time, so I kind of related to David a lot in the sense of going up against giants.
Yeah, I've always been kind of average height, if not a little on the shorter side probably. And so I think that's probably a little bit for me too. It's interesting though, like when you think about Goliath, we build him as this, huge person, which he was. I mean, he was a giant, almost 10 foot tall probably, somewhere around there. So he's, reighing in about a basketball goal height. Mm-hmm. But he's not just tall, right? He's big. Like, he's big and strong. Like, I think that's the most intimidating thing is we've seen a lot of really tall people, right? Like, being tall, yes, it can be intimidating, but most of the time when you see really, really tall people, they're kind of skinny, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of bony and stuff. That wasn't the thing with Goliath. No. He was a big dude. Yeah. He was big. And the fact that we know that because Saul, from what we know, was a pretty big guy himself, mm-hmm. right? The king. It was one of the reasons he was chosen as king because he looked like a king. Like, he was handsome, he was strong, he was all those things, and that's one of the reasons he was chosen as king. And Saul is even scared of Goliath. He's sitting back there, which kind of takes us to this point of, as David comes to the battleground, that's not where we get introduced to David. Mm-hmm. David, we get introduced well before when God sends Samuel, like we talked about last week, to anoint him as king. And, he goes to Jesse's sons, and it's kind of talked about how he went through all of Jesse's sons, and they were all probably Saul looking, like they're big, they're strong. And then there's little David over here who wasn't even brought out to be, shown to Jesse. And just like, no, he's the one. Yeah. And I think that's partly maybe because of what he would do, but also the story just is so important because you get to see it had nothing really to do with David. He wasn't big, he wasn't strong. There was no question when they left that who defeated Goliath. Yeah. It was God. And that's what David said from the beginning. David admitted from the beginning, hey, I'm not going to be the one who does this. I've just got God with me, so in my mind, I'm bigger than him. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Well, you think about where David came from, too. I mean, he went from raising sheep.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. Just taking care of sheep all day. I don't know if you can imagine that. That's not necessarily the job I'd want. But
well, let's ask this. How many of you guys know what a shepherd is? Like, I'm sure we've heard the stories enough, but a shepherd isn't just the guy who wakes up in the morning and goes out and feeds the sheep. Yeah. Right? I think that's with animals these days. That's kind of what you do. If you live on a farm or you watch movies with people on a farm, they wake up in the morning. Yeah, it's hard work. You out there, but during this time when you're watching sheep, you've got to sleep out there with the sheep. Yep. You've got to do all those things because you got to protect them. Bears, we know that lions came through there.
And I think that's where you're headed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
But also, the one reason they have to take so much care of sheep is because sheep are dumb. I raised sheep when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My family had some on our farm, and they were very, very dumb. I only liked them because I could ride them. But
You rode a lot of sheep?
I rode sheep. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things.
Did you ever go to the rodeos and
No,
do that?
no, it was just on the farm. I don't even know. A lot of times my parents weren't even down there with me when I did it.
Oh,
but-
so you did it without permission.
Yes,
Don't
I
do
did.
that. If you have some sheep out there, make sure your parents at least say you can ride them before
Yeah,
you start riding
sure.
them. Don't just go up there and jump on them. But yeah, there's so many things. And before that, Saul, when David comes up to Saul and says, hey, why is everybody scared? I'll go fight this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Saul kind of looks at him and he's like, what are you doing here? Get out of here. And it's not that Saul didn't know David, because we found out before, Saul actually knew David well. Mm-hmm. David went and played his harp for Saul to soothe him and things like that. So it wasn't Saul looking at this kid that he'd never seen before. He knew David and knew his heart. And that's probably what ended up convincing him to let him go out there and try, right? To the point where Saul, and you know that Saul loved David because he even tried to give him his armor, right? Could you imagine trying to pile all that armor on as David? And they think David probably was, I don't know, between 16 and 19 years old at this point. When you're 16 and 19, that's what you're talking about. You were still about...
I was still pretty short.
Yeah, you're still short and those things. So people look at you as not being able to do much, but it just shows you it doesn't matter. And I think the video, it was kind of funny how it said it. But as Samuel's looking at Jesse's sons, he's like, I'm not worried about the most handsome or the biggest and strongest. I'm more concerned about what's on the inside. And I think that's what David, throughout his life, proves is what's on the inside. Even when he makes mistakes, his heart for God is so strong, and his, him believing in who God is so strong that almost carries him to everything that he does. Even when he makes mistakes, he still has, he's called, the man after God's own heart. That he continues to search after God and trust that God is in control all the time. Yeah. We read Psalm 20, or one of your crafts, right? We had some really cool crafts this week. McCoy made this one for us. Hopefully you guys got to make your sheep. Like we said, David was a shepherd, but in Psalm 23 he talks about the Lord being the shepherd. And just how important it is to trust that God is going to be the one to take care of you. Mm-hmm. And that's something David really believed in and made a lot of decisions in his life based on that belief. And then, of course, well, maybe I need a little trivia for you, Daniel. How many stones did David pick up? Yeah. Did you know that off the top of your head, or did you have to cheat?
I knew that.
So you got to make a little satchel, and it had the 5 stones that he took. But here's an even better question. Okay. How many stones did David have to use to defeat Goliath?
Just one. Just
one. One shot. Talk about accuracy, right? He just slung that one thing. But once again, you see God working in that, right? And some people ask, why did he take 5 stones if he knew he was going to hit him on the first one? Well, there's probably a lot of reasons, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is he was prepared, did what God asked him to do, and took care of business, right? There's just so many things in life that this story can relate to. As you're in school, as you are with other people, remembering that who you are and who you claim to be, as long as God is at the forefront of that, as God is the importance in that, you claim that God is the one that's driving what you're doing, it shows that you'll be able to accomplish a lot of things, and even sometimes when people don't think that you can.
Yeah.
Anything else, Daniel, from the story? There's so much. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that we've boiled it down to this little bit, because the story seems so big when you think about it.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw this in the packet, and I was like, man, David. He was multi-talented.
He kind of did everything.
Not only took care of sheep, he was also a musician, played the harp. He actually played for Saul, which is another story.
That's true, yeah.
But then we see him as a soldier in the story of David and Goliath, friend to Jonathan, and a king. I mean, this guy...
He did it all.
He did it all, man.
And could you imagine... And here's kind of the other thing with this. David was always pretty humble, right? He always claimed that God was going to be able to do it. And even whenever he went to fight Goliath, he never tried to, trick Saul out of becoming king, even though he knew the way we get introduced to David is Samuel going and anointing him, right, as a kid. But he never let that go to his head. He continued to take food to his brothers. Like, this is going to be the king, right? Yeah. And he goes to the battlefield not to fight, but to take food to his brothers. Like, he was still a servant even though he knew what was to come, which is just so important. So remember, no matter how important you think that you are, and we've got some 4th, 5th, and 6th graders here who think that they're pretty important, I bet. Never forget that you always have to obey your parents. Mm-hmm. Jesse said, hey, David, take this food to your brothers on the front line. And what did David do?
Took it.
He took it. That's going to be the next king. He knows it. But he still obeyed his father, which is really important. Mm-hmm. Anything else jump out at you?
Not specifically, man.
Nothing in the Bible. I think another reason this was one of my favorite stories was because it gave me good ammo to use to my mom, like why I needed a slingshot.
Yeah.
I was like, David.
Did you ever have one?
I did. I actually got one, and I didn't get to keep it very long. I think I probably broke a window or hit my brother or something.
My parents were smart. They got me one of those slingshots, but I could only shoot foam balls with it, so it couldn't hurt anything, but I could still sling.
So maybe there's a lesson there. Parents, slingshots are good as long as you don't have to use anything, but don't let them use stones, obviously.
Yeah.
But maybe soft Nerf balls.
There you go.
All right. I'm not sure what our story is next week. I'm excited to see it, but hopefully you are too. But remember, you can come to the office, parents, at any point and pick up the packet for your kids during the week. Just let the office know. Also on Saturday, those will be sitting outside Steve and Sandy's house if you need to pick it up there.
Also, when you're coming back, make sure to thank the people that are putting these packets together. This
it's
packet
incredible.
Was loaded this week.
I think the Starnes actually,
much good stuff.
Sandy's been doing a lot of it, but the whole Children's Education Committee is involved, and I think actually Harry and Sarah put these together. Mm-hmm. And I think that, they had to count a lot of stuff. They had to do all kinds of hard work. So definitely make sure that you tell them thank you. They're amazing. We're so glad that we got to see some of you guys today. As hopefully things become more safe and we get some more answers, we'll have some more time together and it won't be as weird. But we are thankful that we actually got to see some of you guys today. Yep. And hopefully that will continue. But once again, we're so thankful for you. We love you so much. Parents, families, Jake will be on in just a few minutes, about 6 or 7 minutes with the live stream on Jude tonight. So I know you're excited about that. Make sure you stay tuned in. Or Steve said we're not supposed to say tuned in anymore.
Stay live? I don't know.
I don't know. Just continue to do what you're doing. Sit there. If you got to go to the bathroom, that's okay. Just stay there because Jake's going to be up in just a minute. But we love you guys. Have a good week.
Love y'all.
See ya.